That was weird.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for checking out episode 1 of the Freedom Bowl podcast. I'm Pat the Leo.
I'm Ox Holloway.
Jack Taylor.
All right. So we will be your hosts.
Hosts.
For the hosts. Okay.
Hosts
This is
with
episode
most.
1. We're kind of winging it, but we plan on talking about freedom, critical thinking, some news stories, some product reviews, some tactics, some leadership, some BS stuff that happens behind the scenes with government.
Lifestyle resiliency, all the fun stuff.
Medical stuff, cop stuff, first responder stuff. What the fuck ever else we decide to come up with.
Yeah, swear words are allowed.
Swear words are absolutely allowed.
Adult language encouraged.
So the three of us will be your hosts. And thanks for sticking around through our rough intro.
And we have been drinking.
Well,
Well, what's all this wee stuff?
some of us have been drinking.
Drinking cranberry.
And the reason we are all together tonight is we are doing a training class tomorrow for some first responder unconventional entries. So tonight we did an impromptu class we did automobile entries, a couple lessons on that. And we did some breaking out of handcuffs. That was pretty fun.
That was lots of fun.
That was really cool.
So being in law enforcement, I've been in for about a decade now. And you would be surprised how many cops don't know the limitations of their gear, which is another lesson that carries over into a bunch of different things in your life. Use some critical thinking when someone gives you a tool and they say, hey, it's magic, good luck. Maybe you just ask some questions like, oh, what does it do? What does it not do? And you guys learned that tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
We used some bobby pins and some little snap clips for your hair, to break out of those, and it was not too difficult. We did a EMT call out.
Yes.
Pretty sweet in the middle of dinner. We got our sweet radio thing. Walk us through that.
Yep. We had a nice vehicle crushing and with a care flight at the end. And so they got to see a little bit of that. That was fun.
Vehicle crushing meaning someone got squished
Under
under a vehicle. Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of neat to see that bird come in and take him away.
I actually hate pilots, but I don't care who you are. It still looks cool when someone flies in on a helicopter and zooms out.
It's true.
Those Blue Angels I've seen a couple times, and they're such, not the Blue Angels, maybe they are, maybe they're not, but I've dealt with a lot of pilots in the military, and they are just fucking prima donnas, every one of them.
Yeah.
But they're still damn cool.
So, my cousin's husband is a Blue Angel
Sweet.
pilot.
To be specific. I do think that's pretty cool, though. I spent some time in the birds, too, I did some drug interdiction and some piracy work. I got tons of flight hours. So let's just get into it. I got a cool rant that I like about pilots. So the military, there's this thing called certification, where they don't really give a shit what you know or what you can do, but if you have a piece of paper, you're good.
Hey, that's all of first responder stuff.
It's a lot of America nowadays, too. You got a college degree, doesn't matter what the hell it's in,
Absolutely.
just have to have one.
Yeah.
Which you can pretty much buy online today. I might do that. So I'm in a military training class, which is, I fucking forget the name. It's How to Interact as a Crew. It's got some big long acronym, big fancy name. We sit in a classroom, and the instructor reads the PowerPoint word for word for about 8 hours nonstop, 2 days in a row. And no matter what you do in class, whether you're awake or not, you get a certificate at the end that says, you can communicate. You can do it. So here's the gist of the class in 10 seconds or less. Speak up if you see something that's a safety concern, and don't be afraid to speak up if there's a safety concern, because it's better for you to speak up about a safety concern than to not say it and the other guy not see it. Boom. That's it.
That's it.
That could have been the whole class.
Done.
Could have done that from home on my couch.
And you don't have to be an asshole doing it.
Yeah, just
like,
be polite.
A couple of days ago, we were on a rollover with entrapment, and we needed to break out the windshield. And so one of our guys gets the windshield saw out, and he had his visor up on his helmet. And I was standing right next to him, kind of dealing with the patient. And he starts sawing, and I look at that, and I see his visor's up. So I just went over and put it down for him, and, he just kind of says thanks as he's continued to saw, and it's all good. He didn't have to...
Did he go to the PowerPoint class?
No, he did not.
Did you?
No.
Damn it.
Unfortunately. I should get certified in this.
No offense, but what an idiot. So we're sitting there listening to this PowerPoint word for word from an instructor that I don't think went anywhere or did anything ever in life, but he was the one that was qualified to read.
If you can't do it, teach it.
Can't do it, teach it. Right.
Oh.
All right, look at me. So he says, hey, it's a class full. Right. So the instructor says, hey, does anyone have any stories from the field about dealing with, being a little tired? So me and my partner had just gotten back from our African Somali pirate mission, where we'd spent several days on one operation with zero sleep and minimal food. Just soaked in our gear with sweat and piss and seawater and gasoline and filth. And my partner looks over at me and he's like, he's old salt. Like, he is one, like that guy that smokes like a chimney, drinks a gallon of milk a day. But some fucking magic how still finishes first on the PT test with a cigarette in his mouth. I don't know. He's not going to die. So we've been through some pretty miserable crap in Africa. And he looks over at me and he shakes his head and he goes, don't do it. Don't raise your... He goes like, don't do it. He's like, you don't learn your own lesson, do you? So I'm like, all right, I won't do it. So the pilots in front of us, they raise their hands. They go, well, one time we got to the station and, we had already made dinner and we watched a movie. So, we were at work for like 4 hours and, then they wanted us to go do a search and rescue mission and that would have taken a few hours. So, we did it. But gosh, and I felt like I was on fucking crazy pills. I look over at my partner. I'm like, is this a joke? Like, is he serious? He was confused too. I look at the instructor and he's shaking his head. He's like, yeah, no, good, yeah, good story. Anybody else? So I put my head down and I shake my head. I'm like, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I'm like, I got one. Don't do it. He's like, yes, you, guy that's not a pilot, what are you doing here? I said, I spend a lot of time in helicopters and we're doing other stuff too. Me and my friend here, he's like, no. Me and my friend here just got back from Africa. We spent, I think, off the top of my head, one of our busts, which to date was the largest piracy bust off the coast of Somalia that we've got in this whole mission. It was only like 72 hours. So we had our machine guns slung over our necks. We had about 85 pounds of gear. We went through the sun and the midnight shitty seas and the sun and the seas and the sun. We were baked. We were tired. We didn't eat at all the whole time. And everyone's like really quiet. And they're looking at us and their mouths are kind of open. And they didn't really get it.
Like, you don't eat every 6 hours?
You don't take naps? So that was my experience getting certified and qualified to be a team member, to learn how to speak up. And, we could have done it from home. That was my experience with pilots. I mean, it's a tough life. You got that bag limit, right? It's 8 hours and you're done. And if you do 4 hours and they ask you to go out again, you might just call in a replacement crew anyways, because if it takes 4 hours and 1 minute, that's big trouble. So, they screw up and... Well, maybe they crash, maybe, yeah. I screw up and, maybe I drown or get shot or shoot the wrong guy or get in a fight and lose and end up in a hospital. Hey. Potatoes, potatoes?
Yeah,
potatoes,
man.
tomatoes.
Wonder how many...
I don't know how they do it.
How many pilots throughout the years are going to hear this podcast? Right.
Airmen are welcome to the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome.
Very welcome in the podcast. What is the strategic importance of that area of the world nowadays? I remember
That's a good one.
I remember the October, was it 1993, Black Hawk Down, Somalia,
Yeah.
Mogadishu, all that.
So any of you guys know why we went there in the first place, Somalia? Black Hawk Down.
To make a movie.
I would not be surprised. Really. Do you guys know?
No, not really.
No clue. No fun.
No.
I have a sneaky suspicion it wasn't legitimate, though. That's just my guess.
I know a guy who was there and did a lot of fighting. We can get him on.
Rock and roll. I know there was a humanitarian portion of that, but I also don't think that's just why. I don't think that they should be taking my money to give to someone else in another country for humanitarian aid when we got vets at home, and they're not special. Vets just saying because we're fighting overseas, we're at home and we're not getting taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
And not even something that we didn't earn. I earned the right, and my half of the contract was do your job. The government's half of the contract was we'll fix you medically when you're done doing your job. So we have enough money to burn to give to other countries for humanitarian aid and whatever else they're doing over there.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have enough money to get you an x-ray. We're just going to give you Motrin for a month, and then we'll give you an x-ray for 6 months, and then we'll get you physical therapy. And then when you're done with that, we'll give you an MRI, which is a little backwards. You should know what you're dealing with. I'm dealing with that personally myself right now.
Those are expensive too.
So what we're doing there, no idea. Ox, no clue. What I did there, I was supposed to stop piracy. I stopped I put my hands on about 40-ish pirates and detained them and arrested most of them. About 20 of them, word came, I was told, that our operation had reached the desk of the president, and the operation made it back down the chain, and the direct order to us was release them.
What?
So we released and actually there were 2 or 3 groups we had detained at the time, and the group that was the most red-handed, the shots were fired, they had weapons in their hands when we showed up on scene, that was the group that the White House told us to release.
Was that the white bush or the black bush? Bush or Obama? Was it Bush number 2 or Bush number 3?
Let's see, it was in 2009.
So that would be Bush number 3.
Bush.
I didn't know if that was a sexual. I was like, Bush,
I can't remember.
black. What
No,
kind of Bush are we?
No, 2009 was Obama, right?
Yeah.
Bush number 3.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Yeah, he didn't help much. And the interesting thing was we had those pirates detained for a long damn time in international seas with no plan on what to do with them. A lot of people don't know. That's one of the things I really want to talk about in this show, too, is the complete incompetence in the government that people don't see, which is, hey, go do this mission and catch the pirates. We did. We got there was a pirate attack, we caught them, and then we said, great, what do you want us to do with them? And they said, we don't know yet, so hold on. Like, there's no processing.
It's like, whoa, wait, you actually caught him?
Oh,
we didn't think that far ahead.
And I also got certified to jump out of a helicopter out there as part of my mission, except helicopter A, which was painted red and white, was the one I qualified on, the Black Hawk, but painted red and white.
Mm-hmm.
And helicopter B was the Marines helicopters out there, also a Black Hawk, different paint job. We were not certified to jump out of that one. So on one of our big scary missions, they were like, oh, we need you right now to fast rope out of this chopper. We were like, great, let's do it. And someone called Washington, D.C., and someone called my boss, not my direct boss, but somewhere up way in that chain.
Mm-hmm.
And they went, no, they can't do that. It's a different helicopter. Well, okay, well then why'd you certify me in the first place if the red and white striped helicopters aren't anywhere within 1,000 miles of my operation? Thanks, government. Good job.
Yeah.
So that happened as well. So that's something I'd like to talk a lot about.
We've talked sort of, we've kicked around ideas for things that we'd like to address, and sort of addressing or pointing out these weaknesses or the sort of behind the scenes stuff. How can we turn that up? Like, how can we take that information and do something constructive with it? Like, if we're pointing out, this silliness with the helicopter and the painting and whatnot, like, how can we take that information about the behind the scenes info and do something like beneficial or creative or constructive with it? Is it just kind of shining a light on it, or can we do something, or what's the benefit? What's the outcome?
This one's kind of a downer, but I'm going to shoot straight. I don't really give a shit. I wouldn't recommend joining the military if you're a critical thinker. That is not going to be a good place for you.
Are we talking about conventional forces or
I wouldn't join the military at all.
period?
I'm glad I did it, and I learned a lot, but I learned that I don't fit in because I asked normal freaking questions that anyone should be asking.
Mhm.
And I was like a cancer cell for the white blood cells of the military. If you don't fit in, you're different, you don't belong here.
Mhm.
And you get punished for doing the right thing or saying the right thing or not fitting in because you talk about doing the right thing. So you can avoid it altogether. If you want to do it, that's great. I don't recommend a blanket statement like don't join the military. If you do, you're a terrible person. Look, it's a great career for a ton of people.
You can learn lots of
You
good
can learn
shit.
tons of life skills. You can get great perspective. That's the number one thing I learned.
Yeah.
My decade in was perspective. But you might not fit there, so you can avoid it if you think that's going to be an issue, and we can go in depth on that. I think it's also great for the public to know that our military and our police force, and I mean, I'm sure you guys can talk about your medical forces. I'm sure that people will be surprised that we are not what you see on cop shows and on TV and in movies.
Maybe we should clarify what our roles are at this point.
Let's do that.
Okay. My name is Jack Taylor. I'm an EMT, and I'm a first lieutenant on a rescue squad in South Carolina.
My buddies just call me Ox. I am currently in Kentucky, but I work in Indiana. I work in mental health. I kind of started out my career as a PA in addiction medicine, working with people with addiction to mood-altering substances like heroin, methamphetamine, alcohol, and so on, and just really helping them kind of in an intensive outpatient treatment program really help them deal with the chemical imbalances, like helping them pretty up their sleep and deal with the anxiety of coming off these mood-altering substances and the sort of physiological changes that come about, like the shakes and the night sweats and stuff like that. So I use different medicines as a tool to help them while they're also addressing the behavioral changes that are really important in treatment, which is kind of a lifelong thing. How do I deal with the anxiety of everyday life? And the therapists really help them with that. I just kind of deal with the medicine. So that's kind of my main thing, and I also do a little general psychiatry as well. So my interest is dealing with mental health and just sort of healthcare in general and preventative medicine. So it's going to be one of my focuses.
I am Pat Leo, and I'm a law enforcement officer in the state of Florida, and I've also spent about a decade in the military. I was with the Coast Guard, and I did a ton of shit that I never thought I'd do. I did some very high-speed counter-piracy operations and some counter-drug operations, as well as some domestic stuff. And it was interesting because I saw the military side of the fence, I saw the federal law enforcement side of the fence, and I now have the local law enforcement experience. And there's some overlapping time. I spent about a decade in the military, and because of some active duty and then some reserve status, it overlaps with about 3 years of street work as a local law enforcement officer. And I have some really unique perspectives about things, and I also have a hard time fitting in both of my jobs because of the critical thinking. It's amazing how quickly you get pushed out of that circle of the conversation when you ask the questions like, hey, who's paying our paychecks? And is, these new tools that we have, where do you think they came from? Oh, the feds. How did they pay for it? And wouldn't it be better if we just didn't let them steal our money in the first place and then take their cut and then give us a little bit of it back with strings attached? So when you say stuff like that in a group of alpha male super cops, that cops are great, thin blue line, you kind of get pushed to the side. So I usually keep my mouth shut, but I enjoy parts about my job, but not all of it. I think all three of us are pretty big on some critical thinking and some freedom issues.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How to make your life better, how to do that, dealing with the government that we have, and some food issues, some exercise issues, some mental health issues.
Financial. What else? Family, health.
And whatever else we come up with.
Whatever else we come up with. There's a lot of it. We're
We've
currently
got-
looking at 2 full poster boards right now that Ox scratched out for us.
Yeah, so Ox is a master note taker. Every time we talk about something, he's like, "Okay, hold on, let me write that down."
I might have to snap a photo of this for this first episode.
Right.
So what do you call it?
You have to go and do that.
No. I don't want them to see my like this is my homesteading stuff. Hold on. Make sure it's low res.
Low
So they can't
steal our ideas, man.
I mean, you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement before you look at our photos.
I'm the what is the
scribe?
The scribe. I'm the show scribe.
Secretary.
Executive assistant. Thank you.
Assistant to the assistant.
Executive.
That's exactly right.
Assistant.
All right. So what else are we missing? We got some things we're planning. Some book reviews. I actually do book reviews. I'm gonna do the website introduction.
Yeah, sure.
So I do uncensoredtactical.com, and I actually have some book reviews there. So a lot of this is going to overlap. The three of us are kind of coming together as a mastermind group. Mm-hmm. So some things that I'll bring to the table are some military, some law enforcement, and some personal defense tactical issues and tools. I like to talk a lot about leadership and bad leadership and ways you can fix that. I have a recommended reading list for a tactical book club on my site. I review some products, some flashlights, some gun accessories. What are we looking at? The chart here. We plan on doing some guest interviews, a bunch of those. So we're also going to be answering a bunch of audience questions, I imagine, too.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'd like to be full disclosure as much as possible without jeopardizing my career, which is why Uncensored Tactical and here on the podcast, I just go by Pat Leo. So it's not because I'm a super secret spy, but so that my bosses won't readily identify me as speaking the truth, which can get you in a lot of trouble. So if you have any questions about military work, law enforcement work, how to get hired, because the hiring process is a joke, and it's difficult, and it's miserable, and you're being lied to. So I'd like to help you not get lied to. Right? So I am full disclosure as much as I can be. I have some really interesting views on that. What else do we got? What's on your list here? Give me some stuff you're thinking about.
People, or what are we?
We're going to do a segment called Freedom and Liberty. Or I don't know what the fuck we're going to call it yet. But basically, we're going to get people thinking in the right terms of... We're going to make it simple with current political things or whatever is current in the news. Like,
what do they call it? What did Armani say the other day? Deconstructing the news.
Oh,
yeah, deconstructing
like
the
that.
news. And basically it's going to be like, does this promote freedom and liberty or does it not? And we're not going to break it down and get all convoluted and in the message. It's just, we're going to get you to start thinking in terms of, does this promote freedom and liberty or does it not? Not ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's, no, it doesn't promote freedom, but, well, then it doesn't promote freedom. Like, that's the end.
You can't be a little bit pregnant.
Exactly. Exactly. Just the tip never works.
Ask me how I know. Both of those counts. Right? What else here? And you are uplifting.us?
Yeah. Uplifting.us. So Uplifting Us is sort of the brand that I'm developing. My main interest at this point in healthcare, I really like to draw from a lot of different specialties and subspecialties and focus on preventative medicine is kind of a big interest of mine. But also going back to that behavioral thing, that psychology thing, what's going on inside, like under the hood with these people that I know and that I get the sort of the pleasure of working with, that, you know, like White House medical unit guys, like what does it take to get an offer to go work at the White House in their medical unit? So it's just an example, but that's kind of my main interest as well. Is like what's the under the hood stuff? What's the secret sauce? What's the nuts and bolts of what's going on with some of these folks that get to work at the White House Medical Unit, or MD, PhDs, people that are directors at DARPA and so on. What's the under the hood stuff? So that's kind of a big interest of mine, and uplifting us will kind of evolve, I'm sure, but that'll be at the heart of it.
And I am not quite ready to talk about my thing yet. It's going to be a membership type website. I'm coding the whole website right now. So yeah, that'll be to be announced probably in 2 or 3 months.
Big teaser, dum dum dum. Like it. It's gonna be very, very cool. I'll say that. We've all been kicking around ideas, and it's gonna be very exciting when that does roll out. Very exciting, very big. Dare I say, like Boy Scouts for adults, maybe? No?
Yeah, that's a good way to put
I
it.
don't know.
But it's much broader than that.
Yeah. What else, guys? We've been kind of hanging out this evening, having a little vino, doing the tactical lock picking with Pat the Leo, breaking out his training tools and getting to see the sort of inner workings of handcuffs and bobby pins and all this stuff. Like you said, it's been a fun evening. We just kind of impromptu decided to break out the mic and the laptop and just start rolling, just start talking.
And double wafer locks.
double wafer locks, raking.
How to break in a car, 101.
We were working on breaking into my car, and then it started raining, so we had to come in real fast.
It's the best time to train. Unless you don't like being uncomfortable.
In the dark and the rain.
With roosters and flies and...
We might be covering... We're going to cover maybe some permaculture stuff on the podcast.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
Both Ox and I are into permaculture. You're kind of...
I do. Well, when I say grew, I, at the grocery store, bought a pre-potted basil plant at least 3 or 4 times. All dead, but man, were they good while they were lasted. Excellent. I have started cooking, which I guess is a thing.
Yeah. We can even do cooking.
Welcome to the show. Well, I mean, the freedom is at the heart of what we're talking about. I think the big takeaway from permaculture would be that new way of thinking, of looking at the world, and how that can enhance freedom. So, I mean, that's sort of at the heart of my interest in general, is learning new ways of thinking, new ways of behaving, new sort of psychology, and applying that in other areas. So I think permaculture, from what little I know about it, can, alter the way you look at the world and be portable to other areas.
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
It sure can, because we listen to Jack Spirko's The Survival Podcast, and I used to skip through all the permaculture stuff and the gardening stuff. I thought, this is stupid, just talk about guns, but that was years ago. So I started getting busy, so I'd listen to the headphones, or I actually played his podcast in my cruiser at work quite often. Yeah,
when you
I was doing my policey job.
Sitting there working hard.
And then one night someone said something, and I said, God damn it, dude, why don't you just do some function stacking? And I was like, oh shit, that's a permaculture thing. And I was like, okay, well, I'll start paying attention now. Obviously it got to me. So there's some lessons to be learned, even if, I've never planted anything in my life, and I'm still learning things from it. So I think permaculture has a lot to offer.
It does.
Even though we think...
I can't really define it. Could we let's define it?
I sure can't.
Not at the moment.
We could look up some principles. In our next show, we could talk about that a little more in depth.
We'll sort of expand on that.
I fought permaculture for a while too. I was like, I'm not one of those fucking hippies.
Granola, flag waving.
And then it turns out I am one of those fucking hippies.
tiptoeing into that hippie realm. I'm a badass, tactical, tough guy gunfighter, but
Tactical hippie.
I don't like fighting people because I don't like touching them. I'm still a gunfighter. I still wear a gun and a vest and carry my little special badge that says I'm a special person. Which I also disagree with. But I'm also, like, I'm fucking over it. I don't want to arrest anyone that doesn't deserve it. I'm not a tax collector, so I definitely don't make any arrests that are like, you have a warrant. Okay, what for? For not paying something. Like, that's not my fucking job. I refuse to do it, so let's be honest, I'm probably on my way out of that career. So once the website that I have and the training that I'm doing tomorrow, so my training classes and my website, once that picks up, I'll probably be on my way out of law enforcement. So I'm probably a gunfighter hippie now as well.
Yeah.
Well, do you feel like there's that sentiment in general in the law enforcement community, like they don't want to be, like you said, the tax collector or whatever, but they're just doing it because that's their job?
I don't think a lot of cops ask the right questions.
Okay.
And I think it's a lot of people, period, and cops are people too. That's one of the big rants I have.
We've been taught not to ask questions.
Yeah, we have been taught, and especially in those careers too. You do what you're told. And I think it's also terrible that your retirement depends on you not asking questions and not making waves.
Really?
In a lot of careers, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those sweet retirements that are now in jeopardy, like Dallas.
I wouldn't say. I have never. This is full disclosure, 100% honest. I have never, to this day, in law enforcement, seen one of my partners do something illegal or immoral. I've never seen it. I know that it happens in this country. I'm sure it happens in my state. I know that there's bad cops that have worked for my department that have been fired, and rightfully so. When I see it, it's going to be so easy to act upon it and say, listen, motherfucker, we don't do that here. That's fine. But I also don't think that, they don't think about individual liberty and what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And they're rewarded. You say, here's your paycheck, go arrest those people, and they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't ask the questions, and they especially don't know that they're not helping, and they think that they are, and then they don't know that there are other tools we can use, like with mental health too.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's doing drugs. Well, what do? Well, we arrest them, and we put them in prison. Well, then what? Then they lose their job, then they can't go back to work, then their license gets suspended because they don't pay their court fees, and then they don't have somewhere to live, so they go live in an off-kilter drug house. So are we helping? Well, they commit crimes because of that, and then we arrest them again, so we're trying to keep them off the street and in jail, but it's not helping. So the system is broken, and I think the cops, they don't know. They don't ask the question, am I helping or not? They think, oh, he's off the street, good, solve that for tonight. So it's very short term.
Sort of
very
like
limited.
bigger picture.
The bigger picture, I don't
possible
think can be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm probably on the way out. I do as little as I ask myself a bunch of very specific questions at work, like before I make an arrest. If it's something violent, that's easy. That's so easy. You're being violent. You should not be. I'll gladly take your ass to jail. If I have the time to think about it, I'm like, okay, is this a lawful arrest? Is this just? And then I say, am I acting as a tax collector, or am I protecting the public? And then I say, do I need to make this, or do I have other options? So I do all that shit before every arrest, and most people don't. And they don't know it. Like, that's a good one. We could talk about that. What did you say earlier? You said something about liberty and freedom. Go figure. So here's a good story. I had this talk with my roommate the other day. I'm sure everyone has had this talk with someone. If I see them burn a flag in front of me, I'll kick their ass.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked
There's that knee-jerk kind of.
Yeah, so I looked at my roommate and I was like, no. I said, they have a right to be an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, they can't do it in front of me. I said, well, you're going to end up in jail. He said, what, are you going to arrest me? I'm like, let's change the direction here. I was like, if it's their property and they own it, and it's a shitty piece of plastic, probably made in China,
Yeah, I was about
they
to say.
have a right to light it on fire. Do whatever makes you happy. I was under the impression this was a free country, which clearly it's not. But you have the right to be an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, who's that football player that would take a knee
taking
or
a knee?
whatever?
I love that. That was great.
Who, like, why are we?
What, for the
using
national
that?
anthem?
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick.
I don't know his name
whatever.
in sports, but
why are we using that as an excuse to get our panties in? Like, who cares?
How many of those people?
Who cares?
How many people would sit on the couch during the national anthem
Mm-hmm.
of that same football game, stuffing food in their face or chugging beer?
Do you have a right?
While that national anthem was going on, but yeah, they're mad at whoever that dude was for taking a knee.
And like you said, is this promoting liberty and freedom?
Right.
Or is it not?
Right.
Well, fuck yeah, it is. He gets to do what he wants.
Exactly.
If his private contract with his private company that pays him money to do that job, if they require him to do it, if as part of his job, yeah, fuck it. If he doesn't do it, fine his ass or fire him, whatever. If that's in the contract that he signed willingly,
right?
And hopefully his agent explained to him, because who knows how fucking long those contracts are. I don't know half the shit that's in the contracts that affect me. I wish I did. That's a terrible problem in this country.
That's how it is with everything. I mean, every time your iPhone comes with a new update, you got a terms of service agreement or whatever, and you don't read that shit. You just hit OK and go on down the road.
But does he have the right? Is it a criminal act to kneel during the anthem? Fuck no.
No.
And how many people that complain about that? He shouldn't be kneeling. How many of them pledge allegiance to the flag?
Right. That's what I was saying.
Boom.
How many of those same people were sitting on their couch instead of standing up?
Or do you know what it is? Do you know the words to the national anthem? Not like, do you need to be a patriot, but do you know what it means?
Right.
Do you know who wrote it? Because the motherfucker that wrote the Pledge of Allegiance that you do in school every day was a card-carrying commie whose brother owned a flag factory.
Exactly.
Great. It was a communist prayer to the state.
Yep.
So you're mad at him for kneeling, but you don't know the promise that you're making to your government.
Right.
Fuck him. I thought it was great. Well, kneel all you want, bro. I don't give a shit.
Yeah. Who cares? It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect your sphere of influence.
It did not exactly. That's what
it's like I don't like Justin Bieber. I don't get myself up all worked up because he's doing ignore him.
Yeah,
ignore him. You don't like what he's doing.
Go let Bieber be Bieber. No, you're doing you.
Yeah. Focusing on my sphere of influence, how I can impact the world. Believer. Is he still around?
I have no fucking clue.
I have no idea.
Oh my god!
I don't know if I've ever heard one of his songs.
I don't know.
I'm too old for that shit.
I'll listen to a little beeps now and then. The chicks dig it.
Yeah, well, you're young.
I'm trying to. I like how you point out when you're sort of going through a process whenever you're either maybe going to make an arrest or you're making an arrest or whatever. Like you ask yourself, you go through these steps. Like, is this lawful? Am I acting as a? I can't talk. Apparently, it's past my bedtime. Am I acting as a tax collector? You go through this list, this mental sort of checklist, like that checklist that a pilot has. Going back to the piloting,
motherfuckers.
The checklist that a pilot has, like a pre-flight checklist. You're going through it. It's a new way of thinking. I like that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what started that for me was I was at a high-speed drug unit. Unless I have my facts wrong, which I'm pretty sure I don't, we seized more drugs than any other agency in the U.S. combined. And I used to think that's really cool. Now I don't give a shit. And I disagree with a lot of that job. Now, within our agency, the Coast Guard, my unit, there were two of us. We had sister units. We, as two units, seized more drugs than the entire Coast Guard together. And within these two units, my unit seized more drugs than that unit. So I was literally at the tippy top of the whole country of the drug war. Unless my facts are wrong, which I've done a moderate amount of research to check the facts that my bosses were telling me, which you should be doing.
Yeah.
And I found that all to be accurate. Even if it's not, though, we were seizing dozens and dozens of metric tons in the span of sometimes months over the course of a year. I'd have to double check.
They give it to the CIA.
And that was another problem. Is I don't know if I was on the deployment or if it was one of my buddies on another deployment that he was telling me afterwards. But I think he had photos of a drug seizure, like tons and tons of it, and they mark it with stickers and stamps, and they package it a certain way. And this guy had an evidence photo, and they turn the drugs over to whoever we turn them over to. And then he goes out on another deployment and sees these drugs, and he goes, I know that sticker. Let me look through my evidence files and see, what cartel sent those over. And he's like, not only is it the same sticker, it's the same drugs.
What?
Yeah, same packaging, same stickers, same drugs. He could have been embellishing a little bit, but I don't think it's that far from the truth.
I don't either.
I would not be shocked to tell you that much. And then I started reading our mission statements. So on different deployments, we have different, Operation freaking Wet Sink, Operation Dirty Dog, all that bullshit. So one of our missions was Operation Codename whatever. And I read the outline, and nowhere in there did it say, win the war on drugs. And I was like, wait a second, I thought we were, at war against drugs. Why are we trying to go win it? And then the operation said, this reason for this operation is to build trust and confidence and get a good working relationship with our third country nations like Panama and Colombia, etc. I'm like, wait, our mission in the war is to get along with these other countries? I thought our mission in the war was to win the war. So that was an eye-opener. And I started asking other big questions. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? This is not what I was led to believe it was on the news. I went from being blindly patriotic and super proud, like, fuck yeah, drug bust, I'm going to smoke my first cigar, fuck yeah, I'm going to get a tattoo. And, that didn't end up panning out. I asked a lot of big questions and got no answers, and, here I am, over it.
You got a sweet tattoo, though.
I do have a tattoo now. Not drug-related or military-related.
Maybe someday we'll do videos so we can see us picking on each other.
I think that'd be a good idea. I was thinking about posting this up on YouTube, too, with every episode with either a blank screen or if we do some video later.
Yeah.
We clearly...
I got a video of me getting out of the handcuffs.
Sweet.
Oh, cool.
Maybe we'll do a little article and plug up some pictures to go with this. You can look at when you're not driving, like me, like an idiot. Awesome.
Like I said, we whipped out the mic, kind of fired up the laptop, and just started rolling. So, kind of winging it, I suppose.
How good if you fellas are for an intro podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for sticking with us. The audio quality we're gonna, I'm sure, play with and improve on that. In the background, we'll check all that stuff, and the content hopefully was enjoyable. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for checking us out.
Yep. Thanks.
Later.